Hello from CCK Law. I'm Jake Nadro, an accredited claims agent here at CCK, along with Brandon Paiva, also an accredited claims agent. Today, we are explaining Chapter 31 benefits, also known as Veteran Readiness and Employment, or VR&E. Brandon, to start off, how would you summarize the overall purpose of VR&E?
So the overall purpose of VR&E is to help disabled veterans and service members obtain employment again. Also, for service members and disabled veterans who are currently unable to work, there is Chapter 31 benefits, which provides resources to help them live as independently as possible.
What are some examples of Chapter 31 benefits?
So there's a lot of examples. So we're going to go ahead and get into some to hopefully kind of set the groundwork. But generally speaking, Chapter 31 benefits covers career counseling and rehab for planning for future employment. It also provides job training, job seeking skills, resume development, and other work readiness assistance. Some other Chapter 31 benefits can assist veterans with on the job training, apprenticeships, and even some non paid work experiences as well. In some cases, the veteran may receive a monthly subsistence allowance, which they can use to pursue educational or training programs as well. The amount that a veteran receives per month through the Chapter 31 benefits really depends on a veteran's rate of attendance in a training program. So if a veteran is going to use these benefits or these programs full-time, half-time, part-time, three-quarters of the time, that kind of directly correlates to the amount of monthly allowance or subsistence that a veteran would receive in participating in Chapter 31 benefits. Also, taking into account the number of dependents and the type of training also goes hand in hand and really does kind of go into the calculations that a veteran will receive every month for their educational job benefits when it comes to Chapter 31. So a lot of factors kind of go into it.
Right. Great. So let's get into a bit more detail. How exactly does the VR&E program work?
That's a good question. So once a veteran has applied and been accepted into this program, they can typically expect to be evaluated by what's called a vocational rehabilitation counselor. You might also see this referred to as a VRC. The purpose of these evaluations is to assess the veteran's interests, their aptitudes, and also their abilities. It also assists in assessing any service-connected disabilities that a veteran may have, and will also generally kind of contemplate the veteran's ability to hold and maintain a position ultimately. This is also an opportunity to explore vocational exploration activities and goal development, basically kind of ask the veteran what is he or she sort of seeking in participating in this program. It also explores labor markets and wage information as well to see if a veteran may fit into a certain position a little bit better than another. There's also an opportunity for a veteran to select a VR&E program track during these assessments as well. And finally, it really serves to develop an individualized rehabilitation plan for the veteran who is accepted into this program.
So I heard you mention program tracks there. Could you explain exactly what those are?
Sure thing. So we'll kind of cover this in very kind of broad strokes. So generally speaking, the rehabilitation plan that you sign with VA could follow any of 5 tracks or kind of paths. So these 5 tracks are, the first one is reemployment. This path is about helping veterans return to their former job, including supporting the employer in accommodating the veteran's needs. The second track is what's called rapid access to employment. Now, in this track, this really helps a veteran seek a job or a career that uses their already existing skill set. The third track is what's called self-employment, which helps veterans start a business if this is something that they're kind of looking to achieve. The fourth is what's called employment through long-term services. Now, in this track, this helps veterans with service-connected disabilities and maybe deal with some employment barriers, really help them get the education or training that they need to potentially work in a different field that he or she has not had any previous experience. And lastly is what's called independent living. If you can't return to work right away, you may qualify for services that can help you live as independently as possible. So very, very generally speaking, those are kind of the 5 tracks we're going to be dealing with.
Okay, so we kind of have the framework of the program. I'm also wondering who would be eligible for VR&E.
That's a good question. So the first thing to remember is that there is a 12-year basic period of eligibility when it comes to VR&E services. The period begins on the later of the following dates. So whatever date is the latter of all of these. Your date of separation from active duty, the date that you were first notified of a service-connected disability rating. Specific eligibility requirements differ for service members and veterans. Veterans are eligible if they have reached an honorable or other than dishonorable discharge, have received a VA service-connected disability rating of either 10% or more with a serious employment handicap, or a veteran who has a 20% or more service-connected disability or combined rating with an employment handicap. And lastly, this is determined by VR&E, which will determine if the veteran is actually in need of these rehabilitation services. So you have to kind of meet all of these criteria, and then at the end of the day, you have to undergo sort of this assessment in order to determine, are you a veteran who meets all these criteria and also in need of one or more of these rehab services that VA provides.
Awesome. Thank you, Brandon. So if a veteran wants to apply, how exactly do they go about applying for VR&E?
So veterans who are looking to apply for Chapter 31 benefits should fill out a VA form. Go figure. There's a ton of these out there. But this VA form specifically is the VA form 28-1900. So that's VA form 28-1900. That's going to be the form you're going to want to look up online to fill out for your Chapter 31 benefits. As I had stated, most of these forms are available on VA's website, so you can go online, sort of do a quick search on the va.gov website. It'll kind of give you a database of various VA forms that you can either print out or even submit electronically in some circumstances as well. If you choose to print the form, you can submit these in person at your local VA regional office. You can also submit these via mail, or you can also get the help of an accredited representative to assist you in gathering these forms and filing them with the VA regional office.
Okay, so let's talk about a few special situations that might impact VR&E benefits. First, what if a veteran is also interested in pursuing TDIU?
So this is a good question and something that we kind of encounter on I wouldn't say fairly regular, but on occasion we sort of come across cases like this here at CCK. So TDIU, otherwise known as individual unemployability, typically gives veterans compensation at the 100% disability rating, even if they're not service connected for their total combined rating at 100%. Basically, TDIU is afforded to veterans who are unable to work due to their service connected disabilities. So it pays them at the 100% rate. But if VR&E records say that you are able to maintain or even obtain employment, this could hinder your claim for TDIU. On the other hand, if you're deemed ineligible for VR&E because you cannot work, even with the assistance of Chapter 31 programs, this might actually be good evidence to help your TDIU claim if this is something you're considering filing for. Basically, we would just advise to keep in mind that VR&E records are available to VA, and VA raters will be able to look at them when it comes time to evaluate any of your claims for service-connected disability, an increased rating that you're seeking, or even TDIU benefits.
Great, Brandon. Thank you. Another kind of special circumstance I'm wondering about is if there's any interaction between VR&E benefits and GI Bill benefits.
One thing to keep in mind here is that the government caps educational benefits for veterans at 48 months, and this covers both the GI Bill and VR&E benefits. These both count towards that 48-month kind of cap. In fact, if you qualify for both GI Bills, in other words, with the Montgomery GI Bill and the post 9/11 bill, it is now possible to use that entire 48 months just on GI Bill benefits. This is a new development, so if this applies to you, VA is likely to reach out to you right now.
Any last tips for our viewers?
Yeah, so I think that what I would advise is to remember programs and criteria can change unexpectedly. For example, VA might have just updated its rules and regulations so that if you've ever been denied Chapter 31 benefits, you can't apply again. You'll need to file an appeal instead, no matter how long ago the denial was, which is a little bit different than service-connected disability benefits. This is completely unrelated to that. So make sure you have a good case for needing the benefit and try to nail down that initial application. Make sure you're submitting everything to the VA all at once. It really kind of helps them in rendering their decision. It might also help them come to some sort of resolution a little bit quicker, hopefully in your favor. It's really never a bad idea to also consult a VA accredited representative before applying. They may be able to help you with navigating the application process, or even more easily just avoid any pitfalls, and they can even help you appeal some denials in these cases as well.
Brandon, thank you so much for the helpful information on VR&E benefits, and thank you to anyone else that's watching. Be sure to like and subscribe, and don't forget to follow us on social media, where we answer a lot of shorter questions about hot topics on other platforms. Take care.